The Sinn Fein leader called for Northern Ireland to remain in the single market and customs union post-Brexit, moving the Irish border to the Irish Sea. Ms McDonald then launched a scathing attack on Brexit Britain, claiming Brits were delusional if they thought negotiations with the EU were not going to be tough. Speaking on BBC Daily Politics, the host asked whether she thought the EU had been inflexible during talks. Ms McDonald said, "No, I think they have been firm, and I think if you expected them to be anything other than that, you were slightly delusional, frankly." BBC GETTYBrexit News. McDonald claimed the UK were delusional if they thought the EU wouldn't be firm. "I am a critic of the European project. I agree that it needs to change. My analysis looking on from across the water looking at your debate is that much of it was driven by frustrations with a Europe that is not just inflexible but a Europe that is all for the big corporates. I am very sympathetic about that, but I want to tell you this about Ireland. This is very straightforward. You had your vote, that is your decision, but Ireland cannot be the collateral damage in all of this." The Sinn Féin acute IN leader reiterated that the Good Friday Agreement could not be dismantled, and suggested the only way to solve the problem was to keep Northern Ireland in the single market and customs union, with the border moved to the Irish Sea. She said, "It is the position of the Irish Parliament that, having to have voted to remain within the EU, and given the fact that we have a 300-mile border, given the fact that from the European point of view the single market has to be protected, given from our point of view that Ireland needs to be protected. If you expected them to be anything other than that, you were slightly delusional, frankly." Mary Lou McDonald. The solution is to keep Northern Ireland in the customs union and inside the single market. Theresa May has ruled out the prospect of the Irish border moving into the Irish Sea and said that no British Prime Minister would accept it. Despite her comments, if the UK does not come up with a suitable solution to the Irish border, then the border will move to the Irish Sea as a backstop option. Speaking at the European Council summit in Brussels this week, Irish Taoiseach Leo Varadkar said, "There shouldn't be a conflict between the UK and EU. The best way we can get a good outcome for Ireland is if we have an agreement to keep the UK as close to EU as possible." He added, "We have absolute unconditional support that there can be no agreement unless a hard border is avoided. There's a real understanding across the EU that the EU demonstrates it supports a small member state staying, even if that means not being able to support a large member state leaving. It's not just about Ireland. The EU knows this is a test of whether it is worth being in EU." President of the European Council Donald Tusk has demanded an agreement is in place over the Irish border by June. He said, "On Brexit, we want to use the positive momentum in the negotiations to finally settle outstanding issues, such as the solution to avoid a hard border between Ireland and Northern Ireland. In parallel, we will start our first talks about future UK-EU relationship. Leaders will assess in June if the Irish question has been resolved and how to go about a common declaration on our future."